in the macro environment, we have to really get out there and force the government to help us do a better job.
Force the issue.
I actually wanted to bring up the government
Yes.
for the Toxic Substances Control
Yes.
Act, and we were talking a little bit about that earlier. So this law was passed in 1976. There are 85,000 chemicals in commerce, 2,200 high production volume chemicals, which means more than 1 million pounds are manufactured or imported into the United States every year. 1976, this law was enacted. 200 have been tested, and 5 have been regulated. We have to do a
5
better.
out of how many? Say how many? again?
85,000 chemicals in commerce,
And 5.
5 have been regulated. So we have to do a better job. Now the law is coming up for renewal. We have a very proactive administration. The EPA is the agency that regulates under TSCA, and certainly they are very motivated to take a different stance. And I think you and I and our colleagues in the community, if we let our senators and representatives know that we care about our kids, it's actually being called the Safe Kids Act. They're talking about it in that way because we really have to protect our kids.
Yeah, gotcha.
And our kids are at risk if we don't protect them. There's a lot of chemicals. We were talking earlier, there are body burden studies going on. We contain these chemicals, 250 different chemicals in our bodies, and we know that some of these chemicals have biological effects. So we have to do a better job about not exposing people to these chemicals and work on the prevention aspect, preventing disease.
Right, and actually I was so rude because I interrupted you before. We were just starting to talk about the endocrine disruptors. And then, so we've got to cover that, and we've got maybe about 6 minutes to go, if you can imagine.
Okay.
And then I want to make sure we talk about what are some positive tips people can walk out the door after hearing this, and walk to a place where they can buy it safely.
All right, well, let's talk a little bit about endocrine disruptors.
Yes.
So these are chemicals that act like hormones. They can either block estrogen, they act like estrogen, and hormones are more dangerous than other chemicals because you don't need a lot to have a biological effect. What are some of the sources? We talked about phthalates that are in plasticizers, that are in perfumes, that are in those fragrances that you plug in and have around your homes. So maybe we don't want to have those in our homes. Bisphenol A. Last year, the National Institute for Environmental Health Sciences completed a lot of studies, and they felt that bisphenol A was a chemical of concern, especially for young children and pregnant women. And then the FDA came out with a different take on it, and there was a huge hullabaloo because why were these two agencies coming out with a different opinion? And it turned out the FDA was sent back to rethink it, and they've also come out now with their position that it is a chemical of concern for young children and also for pregnant women. So there's at least consensus within the two branches of the government, which is helpful because people watching television get confused when even the government can't come to the same decision. And I do believe bisphenol A, when I talk about those 2,200 high production volume chemicals, bisphenol A is up almost at the top. It's one of the most abundant chemicals. If you go to the gas station and you get that white receipt, that has bisphenol A. If you look inside cans, if you're eating canned food, so here's one tip. Don't eat canned foods unless you have to, but that lining, that white lining in cans, it has bisphenol A, and that leaches into the food. Polycarbonate, so you asked me what kind of containers. Glass containers or stainless steel are best for putting coffee or water or whatever you're carrying around. But baby bottles, anything with a triangle and a number 7, not all of the plastics that have a number 7 are polycarbonate, but polycarbonate is a 7.
So any container that has the triangle with a number 7 at the bottom is going to most likely.
Well, there are different plastics in the 7's kind of a catch-all group, but polycarbonate is also in that group. So if it has a 7, you don't want to be storing your baby's milk in it, or you don't want to be putting your water in it. Nalgene bottles used to have bisphenol A. I believe they've taken it out, and actually the United States didn't react first. Canada actually did. They said, we don't want this in our baby bottles, and then the United States followed suit and they started to pull it off the shelves here. So I'm really hopeful that the United States will start to lead. The European Union has been leading in the last 10 years.
This is fascinating.
They decided to adopt a precautionary principle and say, we want to look at these chemicals. We want to know what's in them. We want to know fast. They put the onus on industry to provide them with the health effects information. And if they feel that there is enough evidence that they suspect it will cause disease, those chemicals are going to have to either be removed from commerce, a safer substitute will have to be found, or they're going to take action. And we, in California, which is almost like the European Union, on most things in the United States, California does follow a precautionary principle, with the exception of flame retardants, which we were talking about. We'll go there for 1 minute after I get done.
1 minute.
Okay, so in general, California uses the precautionary principle. I think we need to do a better job of precautionary principle as a way of preventing health effects. When you use the precautionary principle, you have scientific evidence for harm. You maybe can't prove it caused harm in a population of people because that's very complicated. We are exposed to a mixture. We don't really know, timing. It could have, you were exposed when you were 10, you got breast cancer when you were 40. It's really hard because there's no flag there.
Right.
So I think we need to be a little bit careful about these chemicals and start to be more protective of public health.
Very good. I'm telling you.
So what can you do in your homes?
So,
okay?
and that's where I'm going. We've got about 2 minutes left.
Okay. Let's talk about all the things you can
do. Perfect.
In your homes.
You can campaign right here.
The You Can
Dr.
campaign.
Donovan, right here. Take it away.
So we have to keep the air in our homes clean. 90%
Yes.
of our time is spent indoors, and we have these babies we need to protect. A vacuum cleaner, if you can afford it, a HEPA-filtered vacuum cleaner is a really great idea. Rugs are really not good for kids because they have a lot of allergens. Allergies and asthma are on the rise in this country. So I think if you are going to renovate your home and you can take up those rugs and leave a hardwood floor, that's really great.
Safest.
That's the safest. I think you need to get the dust up off the floor, especially if you have a baby crawling around. If you're buying furniture, I decided I would go to a consignment store, and I bought really beautiful Henredon furniture from a consignment store.
Right.
I like wood furniture. I don't like pressed wood furniture, so I avoid that stuff because it gives off formaldehyde.
Okay,
and formaldehyde's really bad for you. And so I think, again, whether you want to buy furniture at yard sales or if you can afford it, go to a really good store and buy wood furniture. I tend to buy natural products, natural fabrics, natural wood.
So it's really taking a minute to look, to read, to look into it, to go to a website to find out.
Right.
We got about a minute.
Foods. I think we need to think
there.
about eating. Obesity is a huge epidemic in this country. 30% of adults and 18% of children are obese. That's not overweight, that's obese. We need to think about what we're putting in our mouths. We need to prepare our foods at home. I think we should eat more fruits and vegetables. Raw is really great. It's really good for you. Drink a lot of water. Hopefully it's filtered water of some sort or clean water. If you have a well at your home, I think you should always have your water tested. So I think and really just think about being healthy, getting exercise, keeping your immune system functioning, because the one system in your body between you and cancer is your immune system. And I think if you can keep that healthy, then you're really well on your way to having a long, healthy life without getting cancer.
Perfect wrap. Dr. Donovan.
Thank you so much,
Extraordinary
Liz.
half hour. We could go for 3 days.
We could.
Talking. There's so much to cover.
We could.
So what I'm going to tell you is, again, hit the web, and it's the environmentaloncology.org. That's going to take you to Dr. Donovan's area of expertise. Read it, be involved, be proactive, and then educate somebody else. Get them on the web as well. When you hear everything she's had to say on this show, you learn there's so many things to almost scare you, but flip it. There are so many things you can change, and you have the power to do it yourself. I say this to myself, as I say to you, know that. You know very clearly what Dr. Donovan thinks. What do you think?